know, but if questions come up, let's save those towards the end just so we can have enough time. All right. So this class is being recorded, which everybody will get afterwards. So no worries if we missed anything. Our game plan for the class is going to be the coach's role in the admissions process, the college coach's role, the application timeline, juniors and seniors specifically, early admissions, early decision versus early action, and then some smaller items like the essays, personal statements, letters of recommendation, financial aid that can go into applications that might take just a little bit longer than you might think. So just kind of wanted to put those on your guys' plate to think about. But we're going to go over quite a few things, so hang with me. So let's first talk about the college coach's role in the admissions. You know, this is a question I get a lot is, you know, how involved can the coach be? You know, how much say do they have? Things like that. So just to kind of give you a few things that a coach can do to help recruit athletes in the admissions process is one thing that they can do is they can waive the application fees. So one thing you might want to talk to a coach about if you're in sort of, you know, dialogue with them and you are thinking about applying to the school and maybe it's a $50, $65 application fee, I would always ask the coach if there's a chance to get a waiver code to get that application fee out of the way. And if the coach can give you one, he or she certainly will. And if they can't give you one, you know, just can't. So it's a little bit of a school-to-school basis there, but it's certainly worth the question to ask if there's a code to get the admissions application fee waived. They can also certainly point you in the direction and connect you with academic advisors. Certainly if you have a specific major in mind, they can, you know, kind of get you in contact with somebody in that department. That's always very helpful. They can certainly just make sure that everything is going smoothly. They can monitor the application process. Sometimes a coach might even ask that you apply directly through him or her so that they can make sure that it goes as smoothly and as timely as possible as well, so they can kind of oversee admissions and keep you updated on it as well. Assist you in applying for academic and merit-based scholarships and financial aid. So these would be scholarships that are not athletic scholarships. They can help you find those within the school. They can give you recommendations on certain scholarships to apply to as well. So be in constant communication with the college coach about that as well. It says assist you in the appeals process. So what that just means is that there is an appeal process involved with a couple things. Number one, if you happen to not get into the school, or if you happen to get like waitlisted at a school, some schools will allow you to appeal that, you know, to get your application kind of reevaluated. And then also for financial aid, like academic scholarship and merit scholarship, if the scholarship amount doesn't come out to be what you had hoped it would be, there is an appeals process for that as well, so the coach can assist you. There may be very slightly lowered academic standards for athletic recruits. I think that this varies a lot from school to school. Like, for example, there's some really high academic schools out there, like, just to name a few, Johns Hopkins, University of Chicago, MIT, some of those schools that, you know, honestly, the academic standards probably would not be lowered much at all. Now, there are some schools out there that the academic standard could be lowered just a little bit. So, you know, there is that chance. Okay, so ask coaches early in the process what the standards for recruited athletes are, because they may be able to help you get admitted to the school, but maybe not the academic program of your choice. So that's a little bit of a detailed explanation, but just to give you a short one, there's general admission into the school, right, just as a student, and then within the school itself, there's other schools, like the engineering school, the physical therapy school, things like that. So certainly coaches can help you with the, you know, general admission to the school. Probably very unlikely that they could help you with the actual major field school that you're looking for. So that just kind of gives you a couple examples. So this is just a little bit of a checklist. We're going to do junior here real quick. Springtime. Definitely want to be taking our ACT and SAT for the first time. The absolute last thing that we want to be doing is waiting until like October, December of our senior year to be taking our first ACT or SAT. It's a little bit late, just because a coach is going to want to know what you scored on that test. And if they don't know what you scored on that test until winter time of senior year, that's going to be one question mark on their checklist for you. You know, like, have they seen you in person play? Yes. Check that off the list. Have they seen your transcript? Yes. Check that off the list. Have they had you out for a visit? Yes, check that off the list. But they don't know what you got on the SAT. So that's always going to be a question mark until you take it. So you might as well take it early on your junior year so that a coach can at least check that off the list of things that they have questions about for you. So definitely want to make sure we're taking that junior year. Start completing the Common App. The Common App is a short version of what's called the Common Application. This is an application that you can find online just by typing in Common App into Google. And Common App is one application that over 700 colleges will accept. So all you have to do is fill out one application, and you can send that same application to over 700 different schools that accept that application. So that's a great thing to be familiar with now so that you know that you can start to fill that out the summer after your junior year, spring, summer. Way, you definitely want to make sure that you have a good grasp of the Common Application. Definitely get your final junior year transcript. We absolutely, going into the summer of before senior year, after junior year, we want to have our 9th, 10th, 11th grade transcript available. Again, because this is something that coaches are going to want to see just to check things off the checklist when they're recruiting you. They're always going to be looking for yellow flags just to kind of, see what the deal is with you. And if we go into that summer, they're certainly going to ask you to get a look at your transcript before senior year starts so they know where you're at with your GPA in the classes that you've been taking. Okay. This is actually a good time to probably start to ask for letters of recommendations from your teachers because these probably take a lot longer than you might think. It's going to take your teacher a lot longer to write them than you might think, and you don't want to wait until senior year comes when you're scrambling to ask your teachers for a letter of recommendation because you're going to need to submit these with a lot of applications to college. So the spring of your junior year is actually probably a good time to kind of start that just to get ahead of it. Okay. Same thing with personal statement. This is something that you'll fill out on the Common App as well. So just to kind of get a head start on it. Really the main message here, guys, is don't fall behind. I've worked here at NCSA for 5 years now, and the last situation you want to be in is to try to be getting all this stuff done like in the middle of your sports season, senior year, a lot of stress. You're trying to pick out what college you go to. All your friends, who are not playing sports in college already know where they're going to go to college. It's just a spot that you do not want to be in to try to be getting all this stuff done later. So we want to make sure we're trying to get this done as early as possible. Okay, so personal statements as well. They go on the Common App, but then also schools' regular applications will ask you for personal statements as well. So let's start to get these done. This is a great time to take visits, especially unofficial visits. If we can go to a couple local schools, maybe a couple schools that the coach and us have been talking, back and forth. They want us to come to campus, take a visit. Let's try to get a few of those done over the summertime. Something that I've never ever heard in my time at NCSA is, I took way too many college visits. That's definitely not a thing. So you can never take too many visits. I would absolutely really never recommend committing or going to a college without having visited first. That's a recipe for disaster. So we absolutely want to make sure that we have taken a visit before we've committed anywhere. And so then, again, we want to make sure that we're trying to get that done as early as possible. Summer, you're going to have a lot of free time to do it, a lot more free time, I should say, and that's a great time to try to do that. Okay. So senior year checklist. This is the seniors right now. So right now in September, October, kind of right where we're at. We absolutely want to be meeting with our guidance counselor to talk about our plans to apply to college, get their feedback on colleges that they recommend you apply to and can get into. All right. So we want to be in kind of constant communication with the guidance counselor just so that we feel organized. The guidance counselor knows what colleges we plan to apply to and what we need to get our applications in. Okay. Let's make sure that we are asking for those letters of recommendation, but hopefully it's not that very, very first time we're asking, just because, hey, school started, teachers are going to be busy. Who knows when they could get those letters of recommendation to you? So hopefully we've gotten a little bit of a dialogue going with our teachers about letters of recommendation. So, let's be kind of finalizing those as much as we can in the fall of senior year. If we have needed to retake the ACT or SAT, this would be an okay time to retake it. Again, I don't want it to be the first time, ideally, just because most people do take it 2-3 times. Probably. I myself, when I was in high school, I took the SAT 2 times and I took the ACT 2 times. And so I took 4 total tests between my junior and senior year. I probably even took all 4 of them junior year and then the summer before senior year. So mine were done by senior year. And so do need to be retaking it. Let's make sure it's in the fall, maybe late summer. Definitely not winter, just because that's going to be a busy time, so let's try to take it fall if we can. And then absolutely everybody should be filling out FAFSA as close to October 1st as possible. October 1st is the very first time that you can submit your FAFSA, which stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And it is a little bit of a first-come, first-served basis when it comes to financial aid from the federal government. And so they have a pool of money in the Department of Education that goes out to families who need help paying for college. And so they obviously have a very finite amount of dollars, and so it's not unlimited. And so the sooner you submit it and the sooner they can review your application, the sooner they can get you the money and the more money is left over. Even if your family has a feeling that they might not be eligible for any financial aid based on their income, I still would recommend doing it just because it is a free application. So basically you're applying for free money, which is never a bad thing. So I would still recommend any family who does feel like they might not be eligible for financial aid, I'd still just go ahead and do it. Moving into winter, that's definitely where we want to start to be applying to colleges. November is when a lot of the early deadlines are. We'll go over that in just a second. Again, just to reinforce the Common App, we want to be finishing up that Common application, and we absolutely want to be sending final test scores, AP scores, transcripts to the coaches, to the schools, and to all of our eligibility centers, which are your NCAA eligibility centers and your NAIA eligibility centers. So that's definitely what we want to be doing more November, December. All right. January, February, those are more the regular decision applications. Early deadlines are November. Your regular ones are going to be a lot of January, February. All right. Completing the financial aid profiles at the school's websites, part of the application usually as well. We want to make sure we're getting that done. This way certain colleges use it to see if you qualify for additional grants and scholarships. And so this outside of FAFSA, that's the federal government, these profiles are more to do with the school themselves, where the school can give you some institutional aid that comes directly from them. And so this is a great thing to make sure that we're speaking with the coach about and the admissions representatives at the school that we're applying to. Now, just, to give you some quick hitters here, this is a time that you'll probably start to be getting into schools, probably start to be getting financial aid, packages back from colleges, maybe even some athletic scholarships if we're fortunate enough to. And that's when you can start to really be comparing, your offers, comparing your financial aid from school 1 and school 2. And so that you kind of have an idea of which ones are going to be more affordable, and then therefore, which ones, you can go back to certain coaches and say, hey, coach, school number 1 is a little bit more affordable, but, your school is my top choice. What can we do on our end, or what can we do together to, help make this more affordable? And so you can kind of start to leverage those together. We can go over that in just a second, though I believe there'll be another slide. March and April, we are starting to get a little bit late, but certainly there will be unsigned senior events for a lot of schools, for a lot of student athletes. And then there'll also be camps and tryouts at a lot of schools as well. If we still haven't really found an opportunity, there will be a lot of unsigned events going on for a lot of different sports. Like if we have not taken a visit to the school, in the springtime, maybe during spring break, if we need to take a visit, to a school that we're pretty close to committing to, another great time to do it. And then ideally speaking, by April, we've made a decision on a college that we visited, have an opportunity at, and that we feel good about. All right. So just to kind of give you some thoughts on early admission, I always recommend getting this done early because you'll see the numbers back it up that you have a better chance of getting into colleges when you apply early admission. It's common with very selective colleges and universities. It does help you get a competitive advantage, and it helps you kind of get a feel for like where you've been accepted into college. You know, the last thing, I can't tell you how many families I speak to, unfortunately, by, you know, if we go back a slide to March, April, when we're supposed to be really trying to make a decision, and we haven't even applied to any colleges yet. That's really, really late. And so we want to secure as many admissions and acceptances as we can. And these are some percentages, you know, just a little graphic there. Those are the percentage of class of 2017 accepted by early decision. Early decision is a binding decision. If you apply early decision and aren't accepted, you are contractually bound to that school for one academic year. So what that means is that if you decide to apply early decision to a college, if you're getting into the school, you're going to that school, right? So be 100% sure that this is the right fit. Deadlines are typically October, November, a lot of November 1st deadline. So you'll see these percentages. So these are all Ivy League schools, actually. So like 39%, 49%, 18%. Those percentages are much higher than regular acceptance rates. Like, for example, UPenn, that's 50%, and the regular application deadline for the University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League school, is probably more like 15%, 10% of the kids get in that apply. And so just by applying early decision, you're giving yourself a chance to get into the college maybe a little bit easier than normal. The reason for that is just because every college, just like any other business, they have to meet a certain quota of kids coming into the school. If kids are applying early decision, that gives them a chance to meet their quota a little bit earlier, not have to worry about getting students admitted and coming to the school. So it's a great way for them to try to take advantage of people who want to come to their school, and then if they get admitted, they're going to school because they're binded by it. So you'll see that you'll see the acceptance rate go up quite a bit. There's the other version of early admissions, which is called early action. This is the non-binding version of early applications. It allows you to hear back on your acceptance in December or January, and you can still apply to other colleges in the early action or regular admission schedules because it's non-binding. And so although you are applying early, I say that the application or the admission rates go up a ton, maybe a little bit because you're still doing it early. So I always recommend getting them in early if you can. They might go up just a little bit, those percentages, so a little bit of an advantage there, and you'll get accepted earlier, so you know where you've been accepted early on in the process, and you don't have to wait all the way until February, March with some of the regular deadlines. Okay. So again, you know, these slides won't take a ton of time just because we've talked about it a lot, and a lot of your teachers can help you with this. But just to give you our own personal opinions on it, start early with your essays and personal statements with your applications, okay? Want to make sure that we're getting this done as quickly as possible, all right? Get feedback and proofread. You know, those last two bullet points are huge. You know, run it through as many people as you can. Run it through mom and dad. Run it through your English teacher. Run it through a teacher that you trust, that you have a good relationship with. Even run it through NCSA with your recruiting coach or your recruiting coach team here. We'd be more than happy to give you feedback and to try to help you proofread some of your essays and personal statements, all right? So get as much feedback as you possibly can. Proofread those things. Correct them a ton if you need to. Check that grammar, check the spelling over and over and over again. We want to make sure that these look good. All right. Letters of recommendation, again, not to touch on it for too long, just because you know, you'll probably have a lot of help through the school, but a lot of these times these are mandatory with admissions and applications. So again, I know I've hit it home a lot, but get on these early, all right? Ask teachers for letters of recommendation early, just because, you know, you sometimes think all you have to do is send in like a transcript, send in test scores, you know, fill in a couple questions and answers on an application, and you're good. You know, a lot of times that's not true. A lot of times you actually have to write essays and get letters of recommendation. So let's get on these early, all right? Let's see here. Additional tips at the end. Waive your right to view recommendation letters on your application form. These are just little options that a lot of colleges will have, okay? Follow up with your references 1 week before the letter is due. Again, just kind of more like reiterating the fact that we need to be on top of these. And then just to be nice and more polite, say thanks to your teachers, that write these letters of recommendation. I mean, nobody's getting paid to write letters of recommendation. So these, anybody who writes you a letter of recommendation is doing that on their own time. So obviously be respectful of that. Thank you to anybody who's taken that time, just because, these mean a lot to colleges. Like if I'm a college admissions counselor and I have, just glowing letters of recommendation from other people, that matters, getting kind of that third-party opinion. So, number one, these are very important. Sometimes they're mandatory. Give your teachers at least a month in advance notice. Say thank you to them. Just some, little quick tips here. All right. Financial aid scholarship negotiations. So we kind of touched on it earlier with leveraging offers. So that's why having your admissions applications in early, getting your decisions back early, gives you a chance to know, number one, what schools you've been accepted to early, but then also if you're getting financial aid from the school, academic scholarship or a merit scholarship, now all of a sudden we have leverage if we're getting this from multiple different schools, especially at schools that we're being recruited by. And so make sure that if we've got a couple opportunities, whether it is financial aid from a school or whether it is athletic scholarship from a school, let's make sure we've got those letters in front of us, or we've got, kind of an idea of what those numbers look like, so that we can go speak with the other coaches that we're talking to and tell them, hey, coach, school number one gave me this, this, and this. It's making their college a little bit more affordable. Is there anything that we can do on our end to apply for more scholarship? Is there any chance that we could, potentially, get a little bit more athletic scholarship to make it more affordable? Having those conversations is always acceptable. Obviously we want to be respectful about it and, approach it the right way, be polite and respectful and all those things that come along with having those, kind of tougher conversations. But it is important, especially when, college is expensive, and if we can get the most money possible, that could be a good situation. All right. So again, though, understand, you're kind of, got to compare the schools. Like an Ivy League school, for example, like if you go to Harvard and tell them that you got a scholarship at your local junior college and you want to make Harvard more affordable, obviously that probably doesn't matter too much to Harvard. So we do want to make sure that we're at least using some common sense with these types of conversations, like if it's a very similar school academically or within the same division level, those types of things. If it's similar in that way, those are the best ways to negotiate. If they're obviously very different, one's a junior college, one's a 4-year college, maybe one's a D2 program, the other is, maybe a junior college who's not going to give you any scholarship just because, it's the local school, stuff like that. I mean, just kind of compare the two that, hey, are these very similar schools in a way? So that's going to give you the best chance, okay? So, hey, start with the coaching staff. They might have more money for you. They can talk to the school about more financial aid. They might be able to suggest other academic or merit scholarships you may qualify for. And then certainly make sure that they know that, hey, coach, you're our number one choice. And if we can, potentially get more money, to make it more affordable, we'd love to commit the school. And so it's certainly okay to have that conversation with the school that's, your number one choice. These are just pulled, as quotes, directly from people in the admissions department of certain schools. Director of admissions at Georgia Tech. Apply early as possible. We read the applications as soon as they come into our office, but we receive a huge number of applications on the actual deadline day, which is overwhelming. And so what this tells you is, like, if the website of a college says February 1st for the application deadline, when do you think they're going to get the most applications? Probably February 1st or January 31st. And then all of a sudden, they've got 10,000 applications on January 30th. January 31st, actually, that they have to go through, and yours could get kind of lost in that big shuffle. So if you get that in early, you might be one of maybe 4 applications that day, or maybe 1 out of 10, maybe even 1 out of 20. But I can promise you, it's better than 1 out of 5,000 that they get that day. So certainly try to apply as early as possible. Okay. Another quote here from Washington St. Louis, we take note of your visit, and it's the only way that you'll know if a school is right for you. So just like I said earlier, you can never take too many visits, okay? So I would never go to a college that you have not visited. It's going to be tough. You never know what you're walking into, okay? Apply to colleges that you love, not because of their names or rankings or locations, but because they promote the learning and living culture that will challenge you, change you, delight you, and ultimately let you become yourself fully. So, just again, another quote to kind of, think about when you're picking a college. Again, visiting will help you decide how much you like a certain college. So you always want to make sure that you feel really good about your choice and not choose it, maybe for other reasons other than your own personal opinions and feelings. Don't forget what you do in college is much more important than where you go to college. Just another kind of inspirational quote there, just to kind of let you know that your actions once you're in college and the goals that you set for yourself are the most important thing. So again, kind of picking a college based on your own personal opinions and how you feel and which college is going to promote the best out of you, that's where you want to choose. All right. I think might be the last ones here. It doesn't tell us that a student is interested if we get 15 phone calls from mom. Some parents are annoying. We get that. We try not to hold it against the student as long as he or she has played a role in the process. We want families involved, but the student needs to take the lead. This is very true, not only for admissions, but for recruiting as well. This recruiting process is up to every athlete, every student athlete, not up to mom and dad. I've never had a coach, recruit a mom before. They always recruit the kid, the student athlete. So, nobody can help you as the student athlete more than you can help yourself. Obviously, you have your parents, you have your coaches, you have NCSA, but at the end of the day, nobody can help you the most more than you can help yourself. And so that's a great way to look at it, that you need to take the lead, and this is your process. All right? So, this is the last slide. Would love to answer any questions that you guys might have.